Hello, everybody. Welcome to Leap Day. I guess I should wish my uncle a happy birthday on Leap Day. He ages one fourth of the rate of everybody else that I know. Right, so hello to those of you who are on the live chat. Hello to you if you're listening from the podcast episode. Feel free to join us here. On Saturdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on my YouTube channel, which you can reach by going to professorslots.com/live. That'll take you directly to YouTube. And if you're, one of the topics that I haven't covered has been kind of popular in the news lately. Before I get to that, hi Joe, Jan, Steve. Larry won't make it today. He had an obligation. Larry from the UK, and I think one other person let me know that they wouldn't be here. Hey, Chris. Chris, I may call you Jingwok on occasion. Gotta remember everybody's names. Hey, Dean. Hey, so Dean posted on the Nevada slots community a YouTube video by, who was it? His name is Steve something. I hadn't seen him before. He doesn't usually do this sort of topic. Steve Leto, and he's got 85,000 views on this video. It came out 3 days ago, and he's got something like, 125,000 subscribers. So I posted a comment. He had this presentation that he gave, about 9-minute video, and I'll actually grab that right now for you. So if you're on the podcast, I'll put it in the show notes, and if you are watching this later, I will put it in the notes for this down below. In any case, here that is, and he seems like a professional guy. Like I said, I hadn't been on seen his channel before, and he doesn't usually cover slots. Leto's Law. He just looks at some of the interesting things that are going on out there, and he keyed off of this 8.5. Is it 8.5 million? That doesn't seem like the right number. There was someone had a jackpot in New York City, and that's right, $43 million. 42,949,672 and 76 cents. But it was a malfunction, and I didn't think much of it. I took a brief look at it, but people seem to be interested. So I want to talk about this not quite $43 million slot machine jackpot, which took place in the state of New York, in Queens, at was it World Resort? Again, this is Resorts World, New York City, in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, and Katrina. Basic story goes, Katrina was playing a Sphinx Wild, and I think her bet was like $1.50, and the machine shut down. But before it shut down, there was a display that showed that she'd won almost $43 million, and she did a selfie, so she has that as evidence. And then the casino did not pay. So sorry, Chris, you're distracting me, man. I'll come back to your comment in a moment. Right. So Katrina was asked to taken aside. People were crowding around, and she was taken aside and said, "Okay, we have to figure this out," by casino employees. And they said, "Come back tomorrow." And so she went back the next day, and they said it was a malfunction. You don't get it. Trying to ignore you people in chat. Please say hello. If you're in chat, please say hello. I'll come back to this in a few moments. Also, let us know which state you're in if you haven't done so already. In any case, this was this New York City malfunction of a slot machine for almost $43 million. Didn't seem like a big deal to me. I hadn't really looked into it. My initial thought was, well, $43 million. That's a wide area progressive. There's no other way you can do a wide area progressive. I don't know that there's actually too many that go that high. Sure, I've heard of like 8 million, but 43 million. It seems, well, must have been megabucks, right? That's the ones that I know that go as high as they go. Wide area progressive slot machines. And so when I thought about a $43 million jackpot, and I thought about a malfunction on something that could offer that, I naturally assumed that if there was a shutdown or some sort of error or even the appearance of an error on these wide area progressive on a wide area progressive slot machine, you can have some definite problems, legal liability issues with a win. For instance, because it's not owned by the casino only. In fact, most machines, if it's not a very old casino, are rented. And so that the slot machine manufacturers can get some of the revenue from that as well. It's part of the participation. It can be fee or they can be participation based, where the slot machine manufacturer is part owner on any slot machine. But on a progressive like this, wide area progressive, it shows up in other casinos, not even the same casino operator, not the same owner, but other casinos, and owned by other businesses. And so you get these multiple owners. The slot machine manufacturer owns part of it, call it a stakeholder. Other casinos, every one that it's at. And when you have a huge jackpot on a wide area progressive where it's millions of dollars, everybody has to agree. And not even millions of dollars, $400,000, any of these, doesn't have to be the largest wide area progressive, but any of these, all owners have to agree to pay up because they each have a stake. They each have a stake when people are losing, and they have to pay up a little bit, something, when somebody wins the big jackpot, which will happen occasionally. And that agreement takes a while. That's why it can take 8 hours to get this life-changing jackpot. Which you may or may not have known of. And it's also the lowest odds in Las Vegas. I should write about an article at some point about the worst bet in Las Vegas. I think that I'm toying with that title for it, but I haven't done that yet, which is wide area progressives. The state statistics and the return statistics show that it's just, the worst odds above whatever legal limit the state might have. In any case, if the one owner of that slot machine does not agree to pay, then the player doesn't get paid, and you might have to take them to court. I thought that's what this was. I assumed that was what was going on here, given that it was $43 million. And just because it shut down afterwards, but you have photographic evidence and all that, the casino would be dinged. The casino would not be able to pay because everybody has to agree to pay, but there's no downside for the other owners. Their only downside is for the casino where the hit happened. And they can't pay $43 million themselves. It has to be paid by everybody altogether, all the owners. And I thought, the casino's got a problem, and they can't do anything about it. They can't just decide to pay it. Who would want to pay $43 million? Also, if they lost more than that in business, then maybe. But some of the stuff gets national news. So this is what I'm talking about. I think the best way to do this is to share with you the CNN article, the news article about this, the interview with participants. And so I just put the link up in the live chat, and I'll put this later in the podcast show notes and also in the notes for this description portion of this on YouTube video for you to have that if you're looking at it later. But that's not what happened. It wasn't a wide area progressive slot machine. It was a Sphinx Wild, not a progressive. I think the video, I think they showed it in the YouTube deal somewhere. Hopefully, I'm not gonna make things bad here. Get through the commercial, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't even a standalone or um, uh, you know casino-wide uh, progressive slot machine. I'll very check quickly here on the CNN article and let you know what time it was. Um, yeah. When I look at it, I don't see it as progressive. I don't even see major and minor jackpots. It was a digital slot machine or video slot machine, and it's around. There's a picture of it around 1 minute 27 seconds on the CNN post that I just put up for you. So if you go looking at that, you'll see that yourself. But the other, so that's one thing. It, so that's, come on, computer. So that's one thing. And it's not a progressive. In fact, the maximum jackpot that could be won in that slot machine was $6,500. That was the top jackpot. And it said just slightly less than $43 million. Now, that's the other part of this. The other part of this is if you go to the very beginning of the CNN article, you find another article. I'm sure it's in the news all over the place. There it was. This was November 2nd, 2016. Really? Why are people talking about it now? In any case, the first the first clip on the CNN article shows the snapshot the woman took of the screen. There's just many things about this that are hokey. Now that I've dug into it a little bit more. Why are we talking about a 2016 jackpot suddenly? In any case, her selfie showed a photograph, showed a picture of her in front of the screen, and it said, now printing out a voucher, I'm paraphrasing, now printing out a voucher worth $42.959 million. And nobody prints out a voucher for that amount of money. The highest voucher I've seen was like 3,000 at 42 million. So there's all kinds of things that are wrong with this, and it's obviously a malfunction. It's something that happened 4 years ago, but suddenly it's making the news, and making sort of the rumbles through the slots community. Maybe it's because it was discussed by Steve Leto. For whatever reason, it's now news, and I want to comment on it. So Steve did I thought Steve did a wonderful job. I thought he explained as best as I've seen out there. He knew something about payout limits. He knew something about casino operating systems a little bit. He knew, basically that there was such a thing as a wide area progressive, but it's not. It's a fine video, but if, as an audience member, and you've seen my stuff, if you were to go to watch it, you'd be like, no, that's not quite it, and no, that's not quite the way that works. And I understand that people have a business. Brian Christopher is like that. He has a business, and whatever sells. Who might argue with their business approach, whatever they might personally believe, they are trying to get people to watch their videos. And, who knows about this stuff? Not many people. So I commented on that video on YouTube as Professor Slots, and I explained this and that and the other thing. And I also said that we're going to be, and here's one of the cruxes of all this, I said that we would be doing this. So I've commented maybe an hour ago. And one of the things, those of you that are listening and watching are my core audience, okay? We're going to have a bunch of people show up at some point that weren't here from the beginning. And you guys are going to be mixed in with them. That hasn't quite happened yet. You're my diehards. That's wonderful. But at some point, there's going to be hundreds of other people who might later say, "Hey, I joined the first year," not necessarily the first day or the first video, like some of you have. So. And they're going to be saying a lot of things, and they're going to be not as knowledgeable as you about slots, and that's fine. Who is? Well, we are, and so these people are going to join, and I was a little bit concerned commenting on a video that came out 3 days ago that already has 75,000 views on a channel that has 125,000 subscribers, that we might end up getting several hundred people today, and it looks like so far that hasn't happened, and may not this time, but I'm working hard to make sure it does at some point. So everybody just, I want you to know that's how it's going to happen, and wouldn't want you to be surprised by this. So I'm going to check through the chat. That's the other thing is, on the live chat, I originally had made the live, I don't mean to be technical here, but I just want to protect you. If we get tens of thousands of people showing up, who might be upset. Apparently, whatever the reason, YouTube is kind of, I hate to say terrible things like vicious comments, but you get a lot, and I want you to know that you're protected. I have the live chat is only visible during the live session. It is possible to add it to the video so that people can watch the chat with the video later. I've turned that option off. So they, won't really be able to click on your profile and go to your YouTube channel in case it ever gets crazy like that. So I'm trying to protect you. It's kind of a privacy thing, and I know all of us seem to be very appreciative of the Facebook groups for each state being private, where you can feel free to say what you want. The only people that can listen, more or less, you have to be a member and can't even share out to another channel, or another community on Facebook. So just to kind of come back to the chat, Joe said hello. Jane did as well. Steve said hello to everybody. Chris, Dean, thumbs up. Thank you, Chris, for letting me know about the audio and video stream. I'm getting slightly better at kind of launching, or maybe I'm just lucky today. Chris, do we get any free wins at the casino day since it's Leap Day? You get the chance to gamble one more day this year than you would most other years. That's what you get. Asking for a friend. That's funny. Hey, Philly. Richard, casinos usually post administrative law such. I'm sorry. Richard says casinos usually post an administrative law such as malfunction voids all pays and plays due to the outside of the norm. End quote, due to the outside of the norm within each slot machine's programming can and may overpay. You are right. There is an administrative law, not to be confused with law. The best way I know how to describe this, have you seen the sign in the parking lot at your local large grocery store that says, "We are not responsible for someone breaking into your car or a cart hitting your car"? You know how much that sign, that rather cheap sign, has saved businesses because people believe it? Yeah. If you don't seek a lawyer, that's on you. So yeah, it had a sign. I don't mean to be cynical about these things, but it's great advertisement, worth its money in weight in gold, to have signs that say we're not responsible if something happens. That's for lawyers to decide if you want to go that route. Let's see, Emily from Florida. Hello, welcome. Lady Die Slots. Awesome. Tampa Bay, Florida here. And do you have, hey, Lady Die Slots? Two things. First, can we have your name or first name? Second, please post in the live chat your YouTube channel. And if you want to send me an email, I'll see what I can do about putting it in somewhere along my video as like a card. But if you don't provide it, then I can't do that. Emily, I'm going to the casino tonight and want to know if playing a slot machine that states it must win by a certain amount is worth the play if it's close to its limit versus playing normal slots. Okay, so you're talking about a progressive slot machine. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about today was basically progressive slots. There are three. Thanks, Lady Dice Slots. There are three levels, I think it is, of progressive slot machines. The how many there are. There's like categories. Okay, there's the standalone, where it's just a slot machine right there. It's got a progressive jackpot, and the only thing that's counting up is how much someone bets on that machine. A little more common, and that includes like major, minor slot machines. Then you have maybe something that's in just a row of slot machines, or possibly several sort of scattered around the casino, which are all linked together, maybe a handful of them. And these are called in casino, in-house progressive slot machines, and that's a few of them. And then you get the wide area. You can also have like within the state, within the same casino. So that's kind of a within the casino operator business for a state sort of area slot machine. It's like small area rather than wide area progressive slot machines. And the wide area is multiple owners, multiple casinos, and those are the ones that have life-changing jackpots. So which one do you have? It's probably the first or the second. By the way, all this mess of the wide area progressive $43 million, not that it is wide area progressive because it's all just a mistake at this point. Top jackpot was $6,500. She ended up with a steak dinner, but the lawyer's like, steak dinner? We want the maximum possible jackpot, the $6,500. They're not going for the $43 million apparently, although everybody's lawyered up. But if you are looking at, let's see, Emily, if you're looking at a single machine, which might have major, minor, no others around it, you can almost assume that's a standalone. Then that's you get to sort of see how quickly it climbs to the must pay by, and you can decide whether or not you want to put in that money. It can be expensive. And the jackpot may not be very high because it is only that machine. So you have to decide how close are you to the must win by and whether you want to put that much money in. It becomes a little easier if it's one of those slot machines that have been set up to cycle bankrolls because then you're not, it's not all your money, it's a little bit of your money, but you can, I took $200 in the casino 3 weeks ago and played the gold at Miami Valley Gaming and not just any gold, but the one gold that could be seen from the distance. And I ended up, with 2,831 rewards point at $1 each. So I cycled my $100 out of my $200 bankroll, just taking small amounts to try things out. And nearly $3,000 were cycled. So if that's one of those slot machines, then you can see how it's just a matter of how long you're willing to sit there and play because it's not terribly expensive. But if it's not paying out, you make $1 bet and it doesn't pay out $5 every 5 bets, or even $4 or $3 is not paying out at all, then it gets to be very expensive and you may not have a profit. Now, if it's a wider area, and it's a must pay by, then as I talk about in my progressive slots winning strategy, you probably need a team. because if you're bringing the number up to the must win by, then it's not just that one slot machine. Somebody else who just happens to sit down at the right moment on one of the other slot machines that's in its network for that collection, that network of that progressive slot machine, they could win it just because they happen to sit down. So if you have a team who are at least sitting there, maybe betting, maybe it has to be a team that you trust, then you take that route. So probably one of the first two. You can sometimes tell how big of a network it is by how big the progressive jackpot is. So that's kind of your approach there, and I have an article on that, which is a little hard to dig out quickly, but if you go to my website, there's progressive slots winning strategy. Jill, welcome. I'm glad that you were able to make it this time. Lady Lady Di Slots. Her first name is Diana. Diane, sorry. Diane. I did not see that coming. Right. Emily, Seminole Hard Rock, I always forget. Is that the one in Tampa, or is that the one is it Miami? Which one has the guitar? The hotel that looks like the base of a guitar. Richard said that 76K jackpot won last night at 11 p.m. at Choctaw. I assume that you would have a few more explanation points or some explanation points if that was you. Did you hear about it, or were you nearby, Richard? Did you see it? And people would, I think, ask questions like, did it seem like it took a long time to get the payout? For me, it's always been like 20 minutes, sometimes less. Lady Di, Diane, Tampa, Florida, excellent. I see. I ask on my YouTube channels, on my Facebook slots community, one for each state. I try to ask everybody. What is their favorite casino, and half the time it's the one that's closest to them. Whether they win or not, it's the one that's closest to them. Let's see. Do you have? I usually like talk for the first half hour. In the second half hour, I take questions. The $76,000 jackpot was won with bets of $45. Wow. Do you think they made a profit? I knew somebody's brother, they were telling me, their brother had won a $125,000 jackpot after 15 years of gambling. And I was like impressed. And then I started thinking about the math, and I'm like, this whole time you could have worked at a convenience store and made a $30,000 profit or whatever per year, and might have even gotten health insurance. But, if you sunk that much money, I figured $15,000 a year for 10 years, that's $150,000, and that's less than the $125,000 jackpot. I was just like, so at first I was happy for him, then I walked away, and afterwards I was like, sad. No. Miami Hollywood is the Qatar Hotel. Excellent. Hanging with Linda. Hello. My day job, I have a coworker. He's awesome, and he's here. And yes, Terry, my volume was too low 2 or 3 shows ago, and I had foregone wearing these to keep an eye on whether or not you could hear me or not if I moved away, and now I have ability to hear if I lose you, and so now we should have good volume and never have that problem again. The headphones are new to you. Excellent, Terry. It's just quality assurance, you'd understand. Richard, Instagram and YouTube has at least 1,000 slots channels. Yeah, you and I had talked about that. Uh, no doubt there is more. How many of them talk about winning? There- it's there's a choice to be made. If you want to grow a YouTube channel about slots, don't do it the way I'm doing it. You have to invest. What do I tell you guys? Invest 3 to 5 years, and I'll in 3 to 5 years I'll be an overnight success. Yeah, uh, but I'm okay with that. Just trying to build things. Um, it's interesting that we have some fellow slots YouTubers on. I'm getting a little camera shy. um, right. Uh, Jan, in your previous podcast, you mentioned a good machine would be at the end of a wide aisle. Would that be facing me as I walk down the aisle? Yes. Your back would be to the area that everybody's, they're looking over you to look at the screen. It doesn't have to be directly, but it has to be like within an angle. Interestingly enough, I told you guys, if you've been listening to the prior podcasts, about that visible, the gold slot machine at Miami Valley Gaming, and I played at the end of January and did that nearly $3,000 of 3,000 points, rewards points for $1 each at that particular rewards club. I went back. Was it Wednesday? Because I've been getting offers. I guess. I mean, I don't guess. I know that you can cycle bankrolls a lot, and you get a lot of comps, and those comps started arriving, and I got $80 worth of free slot play, and I guess $25, and then there was $2 from somewhere. So I went in on Wednesday because I knew about the 80 was only good for that day, and I had 107, which was nice. I mean, it's about right. I'm used to like 200, 250, three times a three two or three times a week. Back when I was not having this business and just playing high limit all the time, and so this is actually seems like pretty good for this casino, which is not part of a group, right? It's a standalone, been there a long time, racetrack, and then as Ohio does these things, a few years ago they were allowed to have slot machines only, so it's a casino, and they have modern slots. And I went in on Wednesday, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, 3 days ago, and that the gold was gone. That circle of 6 or 8 carousel of slot machines was replaced. In fact, they were new machines. I don't remember the name of the games. As you know, I don't care about the game. I care about the placement of the slot machine, and I care about what the casino is trying to do with its operating systems and its business practices. The particular game doesn't matter to me. I mean, if it's skill-based or if it's HHR, sure. But if it's a Class 3 games of chance, then I have my favorites, of course, but it's not about winning. So they replaced them. The new ones were not yet operational. They had a work order on each screen saying, whatever you need to put on those things for the machinist, slot mechanic to put them in. But wow, I reviewed them in April last year, those machines, and then a few days, I can't believe it would be me winning so much on them. A few weeks after my playing them, it's more likely they saw maybe my YouTube channel or the podcast about this or something. In any case, they're gone. Yeah, I have a podcast channel, and I met my first podcaster, a guy named David Jackson, in Akron, Ohio, and we sat down in a Barnes and Noble with his little meetup, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, and I'm like, are you okay? You normally talk a lot. I'm like, well, I'm kind of feeling it right now. So I'll try not to be shy. Okay. Yes. So you are So Jan, yes, you want the display to be facing where everybody might be looking from. So more or less, your back would be to people. When I was playing the gold machine at Miami Valley, I kind of half turned around, right, to kind of watch the crowd, and I got those bonus round where I won games in the bonus round, so I had 10 free games, and in the second part, when I was working on the free games 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I got up to the special symbol that was coming down was worth $75 each, and so eight of them would come down, and three of them would come down, and everybody's just like gaping, jaw dropped, people around me, and I just kind of looked around, and there you could obviously see how much other people were enjoying watching that, and that's right there a reason for the casino to do that, because the machine I was sitting at was occupied. Thank you very much, and so they turned to some other slot machine that appealed to them, some other game that they might like, and spent their money there. So it's not like it's a loss for the casino. Right. What is the casino's name you play the most at? So play. I went to two casinos for years before. So one of them has been sold twice, and the other one has been sold once. So the one I started at was Caesar's Entertainment. It was a horseshoe Cincinnati. So a lot of the stuff I learned was there. The other one was a local casino called Belterra Park. Not Belterra Resort in Indiana, but Belterra Park with a racetrack, not a resort, in no hotel, just slots on the Ohio River on the Ohio side, not too far from Cincinnati when I lived there. Both have been purchased. It's a pretty interesting dynamic. They were, as I've mentioned before, I think, but maybe you hadn't heard this. Belterra Park was under renovation in 2013, and they didn't open again until early 2014 because it takes a year to move the building down a little road a little ways and lift the track up a little bit so it doesn't get flooded as often by the Ohio River. So this is a significant renovation of some older buildings, and so that was definitely a renovation. Heavy renovation, as I talk about. So they put in all new systems and operating systems and wired it up properly, or the modern system. I never played there before that happened. But while that casino was shut down for like a year, maybe three, then Horseshoe put in a casino downtown Cincinnati where there had been no casino. So not only was the casino that was nearby shut down, and before it reopened, it was pretty low end, they Horseshoe put in, Horseshoe Cincinnati, and that casino, had to deal with a population within driving distance or more, who were like, casino? We've never been to a decent casino before. What's that like? And so they helped people win. It was part of the budget. Obviously part of the budget to build, educate people in the local area and give them a good reputation, give themselves a good reputation by helping people win, at least a little bit, obviously win. A lot of people were just spending money, but a few of us, I was going occasionally, and then I went, there's stories in my book, that one behind my shoulder on the side. Right. And long story short, they made it easy to win, particularly in a high limit area. The room with the slots room, and for the first year, and that's when I won 50 taxable jackpots in 6 weeks. And as I was doing all that, I started understanding why I was winning when I was winning, and I started to understand why I wasn't winning on nights when I wasn't winning, and this is how you figure stuff out. And then the next year I won another 40 or so, and then but it was harder. That took me 7.5 months to win 40, so the odds went down. I mean, this is not me, this is casino stuff. Some of those were about luck, but mostly it was about this is what the casino wanted to do, and I was just learning to take advantage of these casino business practices more and more as I had more and more practice. And then, of course, I won the car, and deliberately, and the stories on my website and other things. I mean, it wasn't certain. It was just like I really ought to try. Odds are like 1%, and I'm like, that's huge. Yeah. So, and then I started the business. So 90 taxable jackpots in 9 months, and then I won a car, and then I started a business. Trying to explain this to other people because, yeah, $30,000 profit after expenses per year for those 2 years was great, But I got student loans and wasn't going to cut it long term for. See, there's a maximum on student loans. I found a way to get through that. and for those of you who don't know, those frames on the wall behind me are my 8 college degrees, mostly in physics and engineering, including 2 masters, a doctorate, a couple bachelors. First ever college degree in my family is one of the lower ones, which are associate's degrees, things like mathematics and other stuff. What's my point here? My point is those 2 casinos is where I spent a lot of my time. Now I bought a house with some of my winnings, not that I paid for the house, but enough to get a down payment. And now I looked and I started looking at the state gaming statistics, and Miami Valley has the best payout returns, return statistics in Ohio, and it's on the way to work. So that's where I gamble, but I'm not gambling for me. I used to play high limit, and the last time I was at Miami Valley, not this recent one where I spent $107 in free play, but when I was there for 3 hours at the end of January, I was there for you guys. I want to see what's going on. I want to see what the new stuff is and just learn more for you. I'm not there for myself because, I won $571 on a bonus round when I was telling you about. And, I try to be excited about that compared to my $27,000 jackpot that I've won at 4:30 in the morning, a few years ago at Horseshoe Cincinnati. It's hard to get my excitement up. I'm there to learn for you. And that's the type of gambling that I want to do for you, to learn more about penny slot machines and progressive slot machines. Figure out what works and what doesn't work and report back. That's not really my personal preference, but it's fun. I like playing slots. But when I was doing it, I had my own personal goal, and I had my own interest, and I had my own favorites. And I kind of talked about that last time, right? On our last live Q&A, we talked about this. How many winning slot machines might there be at your casino? I mean, there's one or two sort of slot techniques that apply to all slot machines, winning, just collecting tastes and some other things. Playing idle machines, it's not every slot machine for that one, but it's a few. If you do all the stuff I talk about, you're probably going to find up to three winning slot machines. And why would you ever go to another casino? Why would you ever play another slot machine in that casino? Well, you might if the casino got sold. By the way, I meant to say Belterra Park was purchased by Boyd, as well as Belterra Resort in Indiana. And then Horseshoe Cincinnati was purchased right around the time when I won the car that year by Jack, which is the Greektown individual in Detroit who owns those casinos. So only a few other casinos, not the wide network like Caesars Entertainment has. And then, and so Horseshoe Cincinnati, the investors for Horseshoe Cincinnati got paid after a few years of investing in building a base of slots players in the area. And then Jack came in and basically cleaned up. And so people went into bankruptcy and other stuff because they just wanted to get their money back quickly. Then they sold to, is it Hard Rock? Hard Rock had to get approval, and April last year is when it happened, although they had to get approval from the State Gaming Commission. So when exactly did the ownership switch? I tell you, when you get a W-2G and you see the owner name change on the IRS form, that's the fastest way to know. Otherwise, it's really hard to find out unless you kind of check the blogs and other things. But apparently they recently got approved by the State Gaming Commission, Ohio Gaming Commission, and at some point, new signs are going to be going up, which is really the last thing that happens. Right. That's a long answer, Richard. Did you search the entire casino to see if they had just moved them? No. That's, I suppose that's worth doing, but my focus is not at all on the game. My focus is on the game theme. My focus is on, good question. My focus is on, well, for that casino, I have gone through all 8 of the casino business practices that I know of that I've found in one casino or another, and I checked them all for this casino, and one of the things that they do, and I can't really find too much else, is if it's obviously displayed, then they've made that one a higher odds for all the business reasons that they have to do that. So my plan is to go in once they get these things up and operational. They had power, but they weren't ready to run, is to check the same machine that sat in the same position. So I can answer your question a little bit better and say, whatever one's sitting there, that's the one to play. Because that's the one that they chose previously to make higher odds. Honestly, the prior show, I went over it, and I'm like, this is statistically odd that, I'd win 8 bonus rounds with its free games in the first hour of my 2 hour so playing it. In the second hour, I got 0. Yeah, that sort of statistics can happen, but not constantly. It's just too odd. Just a clear division. And so I consider that an opportunity and see if it does it the next time. And so I want to go back and play the one that was there so I can drill down a little bit here and recommend these things later or not recommend them later and saying, let's see if the replacement is the winning machine. And that's my thought. I might walk around sometime, but when I walk around a casino now, I sort of look for the wide avenues. I sort of look for the bars. I sort of look for the slot machines that are sort of facing those areas, wide walkways and other things, and say, these are the ones I play. And now it's just a habit. Anyway, Richard, awesome story and perspective in your winning streaks. Great foundation to build on and keep this profound network going into the future. Yes, I agree. But one of the things I'm doing, and thank you for the encouragement. Last year, I was putting a lot of effort into getting the podcast better and starting the YouTube channel and basically trying to get over the line on some of the business aspects that I'm doing now. I wanted to see if I could have a business, and it looks like, as I mentioned to some of you before, getting to 2,000 email subscribers made me realize that I might have a business. If I couldn't get to 2,000 email subscribers, I wouldn't have a business. And so now I've reached 2,000. I'm like, okay, so now I need to think about monetizing, to do things that, not sleazy or whatever, but to do things that you would like me to, that you would be upset if I didn't do. Oh, what do you mean you got a book on Amazon? You should tell us more often you got a book on Amazon. Just I want to do things that help. And I would like to pay on my student loans, but I'm not in a particular hurry. I just want to provide valuable knowledge, things like a community for you to talk to each other on Facebook. It seems to be a popular site for as long as Facebook has group communities. So if you are on Facebook, I put up a note recently about, I'm starting to see signs that Facebook does that thing it does, where they switch out free stuff for paid options. And if they decide to do that with Facebook groups, and their business model is that they need to do something because they always have to make more money in order to kind of keep going. It's how the business is set up. And so, before you used to be able to post and everybody that liked your page would see it, but now you have to pay for a boost, and otherwise nobody sees it. And I went from 4,000 people seeing my post without advertising dollars, and then I went to 3. because they just happen to deliberately come to look. By the way, fellow YouTubers on slots related, please be aware of the Google advertising guidelines. If you own a slot machine manufacturing company, if you own a casino, or if you wrote a book on slots, one of those is not like the other two. You cannot advertise. If you go to Facebook and you have an admin account to advertise, if you have a long established Facebook account, they will let you do it a few times and then they'll shut you down for life. So mine was shut down for life after I talked about the implosion of Revel. So it was on the gambling topic. It wasn't like a gambling game. I was doing a news report, and they give me a couple of warnings that I didn't really understand, and then they had a lifetime out. Something to be aware of. It's right there in the advertising, Google advertising guidelines, at which everybody follows, like Facebook. Okay. Okay. I saw this note here. Okay, so Richard, we think alike. Just stopping there, yes. I chose Professor Slots as a name because, I'm an adjunct professor. I share knowledge. I try to be fun. I try to be interesting. I always have when I was teaching, favorite professor sort of approach, but also helping. And so I try to just do what I know here, but I'm never going to be able to turn it off. I will always have problems with like being cutting or mocking people and other things that you might see at other places. And like, well, you've seen this trolls on Twitter, that's not me. And I attract people with my name, Professor Slots. I attract like-minded people because sometimes, the books I read on this topic, sometimes, there are people that want to know which slot machine to play, which game to play, wherever it might be in the world. Do they play White Buffalo or do they play Wheel of Fortune? And I'm like, that's not what's important. And they get insistent. And I'm like, I talk about other stuff. So it works for you guys because you stuck around. And that's kind of how we'll see if this can turn into a business. But Richard was saying, your personality is knowledge to speaking your understandings, podcast to profound wisdom. Profound wisdom. I have high hopes but low expectations. I certainly hope that I'm wise, but I don't really expect it. It's like winning that $27,000 jackpot. I was there deliberately at that time. Someone had just won a big jackpot behind me, and then I won mine. And it turns out my high hopes but low expectations hurt me because I just sat there and went 27,000. That wasn't supposed to happen. Well, I mean, I wanted it to happen, but it wasn't supposed to happen. And so sometimes I get nervous with success when it works out. But thank you. Kind words. Hey, Joel. Jan, play machines near the bar or table games or no? As we've kind of discussed here and there, it's up to you. No, it isn't up to you. It's up to the casino you're visiting. So let's say you go to a casino that has 5 bars. Check the machine that kind of visible from the bar. The flat ones, I don't really think the flat ones at the bar are visible, maybe to the person sitting next to you, but they're not up and facing the crowd. So I don't think that would meet the criteria of a casino that does this. And, if they do it at one bar, then try all the bars. But if you can't really make it work at one, maybe 2 of the bars in a casino that has like 5 bars inside on the casino floor or something like that, then that casino doesn't do it. So you can stop wasting your money by checking. So let's say you play a couple of slot machines and in the first 5 bets, you get, it gives you a taste. Well, the general idea there is either it's a winning slot machine, in which case you might want to at least once keep playing and seeing if you get any other win. In some places you won't. You'll just get that initial taste. which is meant to get you excited and spend that taste, and then whatever in your wallet as well, and maybe go to the ATM machine after that. Works surprisingly well for casinos to have that. They get money from that. But if you stop at the taste and don't make one more bet after the taste and then go to another slot machine, people ask me, so how many slot machines is that going to be that I could go to? Everyone in the casino. So once you find out that a casino has one of these active business practices that I talk about and how to win, how to turn it back on them, like eat the taste, stop. If you find somebody that a casino that does that, then that casino does that, and that's what you look for in that casino. It is unlikely that they have another winning, a strategy, a casino business practice that you can use to turn back on them as a strategy. They don't usually have more than like one of those, so you got to figure out which one, if any, exists at that casino, and then you just maximize it. Now, one of the thoughts I've had lately is, like four of these. Well, not four of them. One of these great techniques that I used at Caesars Entertainment, the Horseshoe Cincinnati, maybe that works at every Horseshoe. Maybe it's not individual casino. Maybe it's the owner. Now, Harrah's is not Horseshoe. I know they're all owned by Caesars Entertainment, but they all have their own management staff at the lower levels. So I know one technique that had worked at a Horseshoe, and now I'm thinking every time I go to a Horseshoe, that's the first one to check. Let's see. Each slot machine has a stamped on the side machine number, and a casino can and will move them around. If you win on one constantly, take a cell phone photo. Yeah. If you win a W2G, it's also on the W2G, and it's basically a serial number. There's a position number. There's two numbers. And the casinos that I've been to, one was a position number, and which changes with whatever location that one's at. But then there's also a serial number, which doesn't change because that's a slot machine. Hello, Mr. Bill 6666. When the new casino in South Philly opens, do you recommend playing there immediately, and how will it affect the Philadelphia area competitors? Okay, ProfessorSlots.com/ABC27. This is an evening news report where they had interviewed me for Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, for Penn National. Let me see if I can put this in. Spell my name correctly without dropping some letters. And I'll drop this in there, ProfessorSlots.com/ABC27. Feel free to go there, and you will see a news report that talks about just this sort of thing. I would expect, right there at the last like three sentences of the evening anchor talking about stuff with his fellow anchors, he talks about, well, why is that happening in Harrisburg and not happening up in Philadelphia? Well, Philadelphia has multiple casinos. Remember I was telling you about the Horseshoe thing? There wasn't a local casino. The locals had to be educated, so that's one of the things they did was give them a good reputation. So when you drop in another casino into that mix, I would say that it's not a good place to play. All right? It's a good place to play is the other casinos before that new one opens, because they're trying to strengthen loyalty to the players that are going now, so that when the new casino opens, that their players don't go to the new casino. Why would I go to the new casino? I'm winning here, sort of aspect. So I would say that new casino might try to be a winner, but before it opens, it's the other ones that are nearby that are trying to build some loyalty prior to the opening. That's my tip. Are slots at these new casinos looser than when they first open? That's why I answered that, I think. Richard, they may be, but even before it opens, the competitors are I try to explain this to people like, you're in the Midwest and you're in a small downtown, like they have in small towns in the Midwest, in Iowa, for instance, and you own a donut shop on Main Street, right? And somebody opens a donut shop across the street from you. Oh, competitors, what do you do? What do you do? It's the same thing, but only on a larger scale with these casinos. Maybe you make sure it never opened, by working with the city council who or maybe, you just ramp up things before they actually open, or beat them out, with your savings and just make the most of people who know you already. The usual sort of thing, only on large scale casinos, business practices. Um, Slots next to tables playing generally do not pay loose due to limiting interruptions to the hand to table money placed nearby and tighter. So it's maybe, yeah. A lot of table games, it's negative EV. You may win a little bit, but the general idea is that you lose. And slot machines are like that when they're not been tinkered with. And so casinos may not mix those. You don't have a problem with that when you're at a slots parlor where they only have slots and maybe a racetrack. But when you have table games next to, yeah, I can see the casino saying, we're hurting ourselves by having those close together. Yeah. Okay. So this is it for this one. If you have a last minute comment, please say so. And it's great to see so many of you here and other YouTubers. Wildly exciting for me. I'll try to calm down. And everybody, please have fun, be safe, make good choices.